Hello, everybody. It's Alex Thomson here in Les Sables d'Olonne, on the west coast of France. Locked down in the house. Fortunately, I'm not locked down on my own. I've got with me Neil McDonald, our performance manager, who's sitting in the back room churning data. We've got until 2 minutes past 12 GMT to be able to find out anything else we can. So we keep learning. And apart from Neil, we've got Patrick Condy. He's our media man, so he puts the camera in front of my face whenever he possibly can. So it's three boys in a house. It's the same house actually that we had 4 years ago, where I was here with my wife Kate, my son Oscar, and my daughter Georgia. So it's a nice little house outside of Les Sables d'Olonne. I can tell you, with three boys, it doesn't look quite as tidy as it did 4 years ago. And it's quite an odd experience actually being here in Les Sables with no people. You know, this race is renowned as a sailing event. To have so many people coming, we have normally nearly 2 million people, around 2 million people come through this race village every 3 weeks, and they managed to have it open with some restrictions. So when we arrived, there was 5,000 people through every 2 to 3 hours. So it was nice to see the fans could come, but unfortunately, obviously, lockdown came in France, like it is now in the UK, and in many other places around the world. And so it's a bit sad. I feel very sorry for the fans who want to come and see the amazing hardware tied up on the dock. And start day is going to be very, very different. Normally there's 500,000 people lining the banks of the channel, and the marina to the channel is about a mile long, and there's 500,000 people screaming your name and the name of your boat. It feels so gladiatorial sometimes, and it's very emotional. I can definitely tell you I cried every time I've been down that channel, and I think every person who's on that boat sheds a tear at some point. So it's going to be very different this time. Again, I feel sorry for the fans, and I actually feel very sorry for the skippers who have never done this before. But for me, I've done this 4 times, and this will be my 5th. And being an emotional man, I'm looking forward to being able to be a bit more focused and not hopefully shedding too many tears on the way down the channel, and preparing myself for the race. So the preparation's obviously been difficult for us. The COVID situation was unforeseen for everybody, including us, and it cost us a lot of miles. And miles are important in this race because, you know, we sailed 28,000 miles in total, although the race is around 25,000 miles, and that's because the wind, the optimal route according to the wind, isn't down a straight line, shortest route around the world. And obviously we would love to sail 28,000 miles before the start, but due to COVID mainly, and also our little accident in the Jacques Vabre last year, meant that we did not get that many miles. We got 20,000 miles, which is pretty good. It's the same number of miles we got last time, and so we know how to prepare with not quite the number of miles that we'd like. It means that we had to focus a bit more on reliability and forego performance a little bit in some ways. But in this race, the hardest challenge really is this balance, the balance between being able to go super fast and being able to win the race, being competitive enough to win the race, but on the other hand, being reliable enough to finish. And unfortunately, generally they go like this: if you make the boat go faster, it gets less reliable. And so it's a huge undertaking. It's a huge challenge, and I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by an amazing group of people with an enormous amount of knowledge, commitment like you wouldn't believe, and you know, I would like to say thank you to them. They do an unbelievable job, but also to their families as well, because to show that level of commitment, to work the hours they do, it puts pressure on their families as well. So to all the families out there that have taken some pain due to this amazing adventure I'm about to go on, I thank you very much. So perhaps I could probably go on to some questions. I see there's quite a few questions popping up. Lots of good lucks and wishing me very best. Someone's asking me something in a language I don't know about the Arctic race. Perhaps that was a question why we didn't do the Vendée Arctic race. And that was because we simply weren't ready. The boat was on the water, and I could have sailed it, but that would have been the first time I'd sailed solo, and the boat wasn't ready to do that, and it would have probably been detrimental to the program if we had competed in that. So that's why we didn't do the Vendée Arctique race. S3442, am I concerned about the lack of weather data this year? Well, the weather data really is getting better and better. We were able to use two main sources of information from the European, we call it the ECMWF, and the GFS, the Global Forecasting Service. And it's great information, comes in, the European comes in twice a day, and the Global Forecasting Service comes in 4 times a day. And sometimes the difficult bit is when they don't agree with each other. So that's when it becomes a bit tricky, and you have to make some decisions. How many days of food am I taking? We came here with 67 days of food packed on the boat. The start doesn't look quite as fast as it was last time, so we've upped it to 70 days. And we actually take the performance of the boat, the actual real performance that we've refined and really understand now, and we've run it around the world in the last few weeks. And the mean time, the average time around the world over the last 40 years is 70 days. But the startling bits really are that the fastest time was 59.5 days, and the longest time was 90 days. Now, obviously, that 59.5 would be probably 1 year in 40, so we're unlikely to have that. But you never know. And but hopefully it doesn't take too much longer than 70. Otherwise, I'm going to get a little bit thinner. Sometimes we joke in our team that this is the world's most expensive diet. How did I choose to sail aside of something else? Sorry, I don't understand that one. Lots of good luck still. Yeah, this year, hopefully we will win. But, you know, the Vendée is a unique race, and genuinely, I believe anybody who finishes this race is already a winner. In the last race, there was a chap called Nandor Farr, and he decided to design his own boat, build his own boat with his own hands. In the preparation races, everything that could have happened did happen. His mast had problems, his hull had problems, his keel had problems, and Nandor Farr then raced the Vendée and finished in 8th place. And I'll tell you, he was my absolute hero 4 years ago. Pete Mallard, hello, Pete Mallard. Is there a hatch in the foredeck for sail changes, or everything comes out, or does everything come out the cockpit? No, there is a hatch in the foredeck. There's 2 hatches in the cockpit, and there's a little hatch at the back. So I've got plenty of holes to be able to get sails in and out of. Oliver Bateman, the new foils. Well, new foils, we decided early on that we would do one version of foils, and the second version would be a development of the first. So only small changes. That was because what we didn't want to do was make a step backwards. So the new set of foils have a little more taper in the end. That means they're a little bit skinnier at the end than the other ones, and they are a little bit thicker because they get under an enormous amount of pressure. And obviously in the last race, 11 days in, I broke my foil, and pretty much that cost me the race. So very keen for that not to happen again. Sam, what is the task of the support crew? What are they allowed to do? Well, the support crew are there behind me to offer me advice on any technical issues that I have. I'm not allowed any performance help at all. So that means I can't speak to my sports psychologist. I won't be speaking to my performance manager. And so if I have a problem, we have a bit of a routine. I take pictures, I describe the problem, I send it back to the team, and then they send me a list of instructions on what to do. And that could be boat building, could be electronics. I've done all sorts. Laminating underwater. I remember once I had to take apart a satellite phone and solder a micro switch, which could be a bit difficult now because I'm requiring glasses. So yeah, I'm pretty good at following instructions, but I say I'm not particularly skilled in any way. And to be honest, I think as a single-handed sailor, that's what you need to be. In the UK, we call it jack of all trades, master of none. And I'd never describe myself as the best driver, the best trimmer, the best at anything. But I'd say I'm a reasonable all-rounder, and I never give up. Paddy, what do you have with your Marmite while racing? Well, funny enough, I do like to stick it on some Rivita. So I'd never eat that at home. Dry Rivita with Marmite, I think it probably tastes horrible if I had that for lunch when I was at home. But on a boat, I find that even the blandest food can taste fantastic. In fact, in a couple of races ago, I had a Christmas present, which was a Waitrose Christmas cake. little tiny one, and I opened it up, I ate it, and it was the most wonderful thing I'd ever eaten. And so I remembered that, and I take a little bit of Christmas cake now every single day. John, how are the models forecast for the Southern Ocean looking? Favourable for a quick finish? Well, John, unfortunately, the weather, pretty much after 6-7 days, the weather is really fictional. So we're only really looking ahead up to 10 days. And the first part of the race looks quite complex. The standard situation with trade winds, with the North Atlantic high or the Azores high in position, allowing me the champagne conditions, the warm weather, spinnaker up, going fast, is not really going to appear probably until halfway between the Canary Islands and the Cape Verde. So it's a complex situation. The models, the weather models, are starting to agree now, which gives us a bit of confidence. But it's going to be a tricky start to the race, and I'm going to have my wits around me to make sure that I get down there in a good position. With the current COVID-19 pandemic, how am I concerned that I have to stop in a faraway country? No, not at all. Excuse me. Not at all, because obviously I should be clear. And we as a team have had in place a strict COVID policy since really the first lockdown. It's been pretty difficult to manage, trying to balance everybody's lives in the team, and myself and family and kids going to school. But we were very concerned that somebody in the team could catch the virus, and not particularly concerned about my health for that, but more that it would cost us time on the water, and it could be detrimental to the program. So lockdown for me is unfortunately become normal life. Apart from a holiday in Jersey and the Channel Islands, where my family are from, it's been lockdown. And I think we as a team, when lockdown first happened, we were thinking ahead to what could happen at this time of year, and we thought, well, if it does happen, then we want to be able to entertain everybody, because our sport, as you all know, is entirely consumed by the internet. And so that's part of our job, which is why we created this hub section on our website, where you'll be able to see all the videos and the normal stuff, but you're also going to be able to see my heart rate and how much I sleep, and that will be updated every single hour throughout the race. So one of the reasons for doing that is about entertaining, but the real reason we did it was because this sport's about discipline. It's about managing yourself, human management, and trying to stay disciplined. And the first part of that is to actually understand what's happening. And when you're sleep deprived, it's very hard to actually even remember what happened. Sometimes it's hard to do a simple addition or subtraction. And so that was the first part. We worked with Nokia Bell Labs. They're the people who put the first satellite in the air. And I wear a device on my armband here. It's got an accelerometer in it and a heart rate monitor. And by taking away the movement of the boat from my movement, and with some fancy algorithms and 2 years of work, I must add, that we have a solution now that accurately measures my sleep. So it's an amazing feat. I thank all the boys and girls at Bell Labs, and I'm looking forward, I think, to sharing all this information with you. Let's see some other questions. Will I post video during the race? Of course, Guillaume. There'll be videos coming as much as I possibly can. Hopefully you're going to like them. If you've got any feedback on the videos, do let us know. We've got 9 cameras on the boat. That was one of the projects we gave to Bell Labs as well, was around trying to, we call it fan engagement. So 9 cameras, we've got video, we've got infrared, we've got thermal. And so hopefully I'm going to try and bring you inside the boat and really hopefully get you to feel and come and live the experience with me. Somebody's asking about the virtual regatta. Yeah, that's a great way to spend some time, come and race against me. My 9-year-old son Oscar, he'll be racing against me. He says he's going to beat me. He's quite needy, like I am, in that he insisted that I had to buy him all the new foils, had to buy him the sails, had to buy him the autopilot. So he's ready to rock. And he said to me the other day before I left, I said, "I'm really sorry, Dada, but I might not be able to watch the start because I've got my own race to win." How do I cope with mental health, tiredness, bad days during such a long time at sea? Julia, well, I work with this sports psychologist chap called Ken Way. He was the sports psychologist for Leicester City when they won the Premier League. And I've worked with him for 20 years. And as I said, I can't speak to him during the race, but I have to be honest about the challenges that I face. And then he works out a technique of how to deal with that. And some of the techniques are fairly easy. For instance, when you're in the Southern Ocean and bowling down waves at 100 miles an hour, well, not 100 miles an hour, maybe up to 40 knots, it can be a pretty nerve-wracking experience. You're wondering what's ahead of you. Are there icebergs? Are there whales? Is there going to be a rogue wave that could turn you upside down? And so he developed this visualization technique where I can visualize myself not inside the boat, not even at deck level, even mast level, but up at cloud level. And when I'm up there, I can look down at the boat, and yeah, I can see the boat's going fast, but it's not ridiculous. I can see the waves aren't too big, and I can see there's no obstacles ahead. And that just allows me to reduce the amount of adrenaline flowing through my body and lower my heart rate. So it's a technique that works. But the other one I remember saying to Ken was, he said to me, Alex, would you agree that a happy person performs better than a sad person? And I said, well, yeah, of course, Ken. That's obvious. I said, but Ken, if something big, bad happens, like my hydrofoil breaking after 11 days, how am I going to feel happy? And he said, well, that's very simple, Alex. And there's plenty of scientific evidence around this. You have to look happy, smile. And when you do that, we as humans, when we do the smiling, it then releases endorphins and dopamine in our brains. And that honestly allows us to feel happy. So I can tell you, when you look at me and I'm smiling on the boat and you think I'm happy, I might not be happy at all. I could be absolutely miserable. But I remember coming back from the last race, I felt like a lab rat the whole way around, smiling all the time. And when I got back, I'd smile at people and they'd smile back. And I think, wow, I just made you feel better. So it's a simple thing. I think all of us could do a bit more of that. How many British people are in the race? Oliver, Kettle. Well, we've got 4 of us. We've got myself. We've got Samantha Davis. We've got Miranda Merrin, and we've got Pip Hare. And yes, it's myself and 3 girls. And Samantha Davis is one I'd certainly like to point out. Very talented, as they all are. But I genuinely believe Samantha is if you gave her a recent generation boat, if you gave her the proper piece of equipment that could go out there and win the race, then she would have the ability to do that. And I have to tell you, in France is probably one of the few places in the world where in sailing, women are considered equal to men. And that's because they are. There is a physicality part of this job that we do, but it's probably less important than the mental side. And I honestly believe that if some of the top females in the world got given the opportunity to do this with a piece of equipment like I have, then they would definitely have the ability and probably would go out there and win. Another question. Oh, carbon fiber buckets. Is it still the same toilet that has done X number of circumnavigations? How many now? Well, I have a carbon fiber bucket. I'll tell you the little story about why we developed it. And it was because in the debrief of the Vendée in maybe it was 2008, I think, which was quite a short one for me. But one of the feedbacks on one of the races was that that whenever you want to go to the toilet, you have to take off all your clothes, so your salopettes, you have to take off your mid layer, your base layers, and you put a biodegradable bag in a normal bucket, and then you sit on it. And I always felt like as soon as I committed to that bucket, then the wind would come and the boat would lean over. And then you'd be in this very tricky predicament. And so I jokingly told my team about this, and they decided to develop a bucket which was shaped the other way around, so it was thinner at the top and wider at the bottom, and it can withstand nearly 80 degrees of heel. So our boat builder, Clifford Nicholson, who also lives in Gosport, he's not with the team anymore, but he made that I think it took him nearly 2 weeks to make it. It's a very special piece of kit, and it's still going strong now. So thank you for that, Clifford. I'll think of you every time. Other question we got. Carl Davis. Does the autopilot drive with comfort or lack of trimming in mind when you sleep? Well, the autopilot, we've got amazing technology now. We have machine learning that can predict the future, predict what the heel's going to be, what the pitch, so how much the bow's going up and down. We can predict the rate of movement, and because of that, we can give the autopilot anticipation just like a human. And really, that was one of the key things that we tried to do with this boat, was to try and augment me with the machine, to try and bring me almost in perfect synergy with this amazing piece of kit. And to do that requires a lot of data. We've got 350 sensors on the boat that's giving me information, and so I'm in control. I'm definitely in control, but the technology is augmenting me and allowing me a help that I'd never be able to get. So it's fascinating. I guess it's a bit like what it's going to be like with autonomous vehicles when they all come out. It was definitely it was a difficult thing to get to grips with at the beginning, because letting the machine take over and drive exactly like a human was sometimes difficult, and it wasn't the easiest thing to get used to. Sometimes the boat would wipe out, but we stuck with it. We stuck with our plan, and now we have an autopilot which is second to none. I would have said that the hardest time to go to sleep is when you've got a big spinnaker up and you're going fast, but now that's probably the time I'll get the most amount of sleep. Am I busy the whole race, or do I get some downtime? Well, you don't really get much downtime. I guess we're going to find out when you visit the hub and have a look at how much sleep I'm getting. But I've got a Kindle. I've got some movies on a hard drive. I've got a few games to play, and Ken, my psychologist, encourages me to take a break every now and again, read a few pages of a book, play a little bit on a game. And he says you can't really focus for that long, Alex, at the kind of intensity that you need to. So taking a break, doing something different for a few minutes, and then going back and refocusing is actually a very healthy thing to do. Pierre says, hi, you were one of the first to introduce the foil in the last Vendée Globe. In this edition, many of the boat have foils. How do you feel about it? Excited, anxious, and about how fast the boat can go? Well, yes, the boats go very fast, Pierre. The foils are 25% bigger than they were last time. I don't think any of us really understand how they're going to behave in the Southern Ocean, because none of the boats have been in conditions like that, and there are certainly some problems associated with that. But I'm definitely aware of that, and one of the reasons for the design of our foils was to be able to retract them to the point where almost all of it's out of the water. So if I don't want them, if I think it's unsafe, then I will be able to attract them. And in the last race, I definitely had a good 6 or 8 hours where I didn't need or want the foil. Someone's saying, do you find time for personal hygiene? How often do you brush your teeth in a week? I try hard, definitely. The toothbrush is right next to me in my chair. So my chair is at the back of the cockpit, and everything is to hand. I can reach out and just make a cup of tea. I've got food there. I've got liquid there, and my toothbrush is there. And I'll almost promise to brush them every day, maybe more than once a day, maybe. I'll try. It feels like sometimes it feels like it's such an insignificant task compared to the rest of it, but obviously keeping personal hygiene good should be top of the list. What else have we got? How much time do you sleep after the race? Well, Hugo, that's a good question. After the last race, I was really struggling to sleep more than 2 hours at a time, so it was a bit frustrating, because it definitely felt like I had to catch up on sleep. But it takes a little while to get into it, the sleeping regime. But after a week or 2 weeks of quite a lot of pain, you do get used to it, and you get into the rhythm of it. And you can go to sleep for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and wake up feeling fresh as a daisy. And a couple of hours later, you'll feel tired. So some parts of the race are very difficult, and they take a lot of time out where you have to be awake. For instance, crossing the doldrums. I would have thought, I think most people think that crossing the doldrums in lighter airs is where you could get sleep. But the reality is, when the wind gets lighter, it becomes more fickle. And when it becomes more fickle, it requires more management. So actually, sometimes it's easier to sleep when there's strong winds and stable conditions. So anyway, we're going to find out. You guys can jump on the hub and find out what's going on. And hopefully I won't go to sleep for 6 hours and go the wrong way, although that has definitely happened before. how many changes of underwear, and can you wash your clothes? Washing clothes is hard because it's so damp and salty, so nothing really dries very well. And in terms of underwear, I think I've got, how many have I got? I think I've got 18 pairs of underwear. And guess which ones they are? Yeah, Hugo Boss. In fact, we take the Hugo Boss boxer shorts that I wear, and we get them washed with silver. And that's because silver, bacteria struggles to live against silver, hence why surgical instruments are made of silver. And so it allows the underwear to last a little bit longer. Well, who else we got? Out of all the boats you've sailed, what would be your favorite sail? Well, this boat is the culmination of 20 years of work. You can imagine. Every boat is an improvement on the last one, and this one, with the knowledge we had, the experience we had, the data we had, we felt like we had the confidence to be very, very bold, and hence that's what we've got. So yeah, it's an amazing piece of kit, and I feel extremely privileged to be able to sail on such a thing. How big's my battery bank and what voltage to use? Well, we've got an electric engine, and we've got 20 square meters of solar panels on the boat, and so we have quite a large battery bank. I can't remember. I've got 7 batteries. I can't remember the exact size, but they can last at least a day. And the idea of the solar panels was a bit about sustainability. We go out there sailing around the world, all the skippers, and we see a lot of the rubbish that's put in the ocean. We see some things changing, like where the seaweed is, and so I wanted to prove on this race that sustainability could be a performance advantage. So the 20 square meters of solar panels are all over the deck. They're non-skidded, so they're nice and grippy, just like the rest of the deck. And again, that's something that you'll be able to go online to the website and see exactly how many kilowatt hours of energy I'm able to produce. So it's a subject that's very dear to our team's heart, and actually our sponsors as well. We feel very privileged this time to be part of the team that worked on the sustainable, responsible sailing collection, and it's great for us. We're wearing some recycled stuff, organic cottons, and a lot of the gear is actually suitable for me to wear on the boat. So again, you can go on the hub and have a look at it. Some of it goes with the color of the boat, the pink, which my daughter absolutely loves, and I wasn't too sure that I would love the pink, but the actual color of pink is extremely bright, and if you saw me walking down the street, you'd never be able to miss me. So go and check it out on the website. What is the minimum speed the foils need to foil? Probably I'd say about 13 knots. So at about 13 knots of boat speed, the lift generated by the foil and the friction that you lose in the hull overcomes and beats the drag of the foil. So it doesn't work all the time. Obviously, in light winds, they're just dragging around an extra piece of boat in the water, which is friction, and so sometimes you have to be able to pull them up, and then you go faster. But a lot of the time they're working. Of course, the weather routing. So the boat's performance, we stick into a piece of software such as Predict Wind or similar, and that then can predict where the optimum route is going to take us. And clearly, if you can go faster and lift the boat out of the water, at that point you're going 40% faster. So the software then decides where to go. And the software like Predict Wind is a bit like, if I describe it as a piece of navigation software in your car. I live in Gosport. If I'm going to drive from London, I put in the route, and it calculates it based on the speed limits on the road. So the speed limits are a bit like the performance of the boat. The variable for all of us in our cars is traffic, and the variable for me is weather. And it's as simple as that. But that's how it goes, and I'm doing that at least 6 times a day, looking at the optimum route and deciding where I'm going to go. I look at the observations, I look at satellite images, particularly going through the doldrums, very important there, and that gives me the optimum route, and hopefully get around the world as fast as possible. How's the weather looking for the first couple of days? It's quite complex. It should be a nice start. Should be good to watch. You'll be able to watch the hub hopefully live on our website, and it should be sunny. We should be looking at maybe 15 to 17 knots of wind. It should be quite fast. It should be a reachy angle. So we're heading out to the west, and then we're going to have to probably cross a couple of weather fronts. So we could be seeing 35, 40 knots of wind in the first couple of days, but only for short periods. And then we'll be able to head south and eventually find the trade winds, but they're a long way south, as I said earlier. Michael, how am I around the Cairns racing? Yeah, I'm not too bad. I haven't done it for a little while, but yeah, no, I enjoy a little around the Cairns race around the Solent. It's always a good place and good challenging place to go and have a race. I've done many Cows weeks and done Antigua weeks and etc. But my love is sailing offshore. It's I feel that's where my talents are best utilised. Have any design improvements been made to the foils to make them less vulnerable hitting objects in the water? Well, we do have a couple of devices on the boat now. We have, since our incident in the Jacques Vabre, we have fitted a device at the top of the mast called, it's funny enough, it's called the Oscar. It's the same name as my son, but it's not named for that. It's an infrared camera, a video camera, and it can detect objects ahead. And if it sees an object ahead up to 600 meters, it will set an alarm off. And so yes, it's great to have that. We also we did some work with a company called Future Oceans, based out in Australia, and we fitted a whale pinger to the bottom of the keel. And that's a little device that sends a signal out on the frequency of some whales, and it sends a noise out, and hopefully will encourage a whale to, maybe if they're asleep, maybe they wake up, or if they're in our path, hopefully they get out of our way. It's hard because there's not a lot. It's very hard to put a lot of science around that kind of thing, because there's many different whales, and they all work on different frequencies, I understand. And it's very hard to know if they're hearing anything or how they behave. But you know, we felt that we couldn't do nothing. You know, we had to. It's our responsibility, because you know, we're in their home and it's our playground. So we have to make as much effort as we can to cause as little damage, if no damage, in fact, to the environment and the creatures that live in that. So yeah, I was very pleased to be able to start working on that project. What other stuff we got here? Good luck, thank you. Lots of good luck. So how will I celebrate going around Cape Horn? You know, last time I went around Cape Horn on Christmas Day, and it was amazing actually to go around actually on Christmas Day. But it was so windy I couldn't open my Christmas presents. And then when I did go and open my Christmas presents, I think my father had mixed up the Christmas presents for me and for my kids. So the first one I opened was a dinosaur egg, which wasn't terribly useful, but I chuckled about it. But my kids weren't too happy with that one. How much do I keep an eye on the other boats' design and development? Well, Tim, we try as much as we can. But you know, you've got to take your own path in these things. You know, it's a bit like F1 in some regards. You know, there's some strict things we have to have. Everybody's the same, so same keels, same masts, same rules. But one of the first rules of the IMOCA class is if something is not specifically disallowed, then it's allowed. And for us, that makes it super interesting, technically very challenging, and you know, it's great to. My privilege is a word I use often, but I genuinely do feel privileged to be involved in the sport at this time, and there's so much going on. And I genuinely believe that once we work out, and the old team class work out how to hydrofoil consistently, fully flying in waves, then I think there's an opportunity for world transportation across oceans to change. You know, if I give you an example, I like going wakeboarding every now and again. And when I go wakeboarding, you know, it's a tough challenge. You really have to hold on. Maybe I can do 10, 15 minutes at max. But then when I put my hydrofoil on, I can get up, and once I'm up, I can literally hold the handle between my little finger and my thumb. So it's there's so little friction involved then that surely it'll be a game changer, and world transportation will change. I've got a question over here from, where's this from? It's from Sam Light. Hello, Sam, big kite surfer. He's saying sailing or kiting. Well, Sam, you know I'm a big kiter. You know I've been kiting with you out in Cozumel in Mexico, and I've seen you out kiting in the Solent next to my boat. We're both ambassadors for Slingshot and the kites, and one of my biggest loves is hydrofoiling on the kite. It's such a wonderful feeling. It feels like you're almost flying, and that's the love of my life. I haven't actually managed to do much this year. My 9-year-old son Oscar has started kiting, so I'm hoping that I can get a bit more and get a bit better before he gets better than me. Will Dyson, how much does the boat cost? Costs an awful lot of money, and like I say, it's a privilege to be able to build something that's all built around our philosophy, my weight, the style of sailing I want, and yeah, no, it's amazing. They're seriously cool bits of kit. You know, they take 12, 14 months to build, and then a year. You know, it's really taken a year to be able to get the boat ready to do this Vendée Globe. Peter, do I still keep in touch with Nandel Farr? I haven't heard from him for a while actually, but if you see him or hear from him, do say hello for me. Like I say, he was my hero in the last Vendée Globe. Can I talk to the other boats and competitors? Yes, I guess so. I haven't really done so very much in the past. I like to kind of keep myself to myself and do my own thing. And to be honest, there's so much going on. It's difficult to manage not only the job, but trying to communicate with all you people at home and have a chat with my wife and my kids every now and again. This time around, we've got a good WhatsApp connection, so I do have more contact than I've ever had before. And I generally think in 4 years' time, everybody will be able to go online, log on, and probably see what's happening live via the cameras on the boat. Let's have a look at some of these other questions. Someone's asked me, what is a partner code for the virtual regatta? I don't know. Maybe that's a question. Maybe pop a Facebook question to my team. They might know that question. Do you have a little pint of beer for a special moment, Matteo? No, I don't. No, I don't. I won't have any alcohol on the boat at all. I don't need it. At that point, you know, it's a full-on race. My psychologist likes to tell me to give myself a little pat on the back every now and again, you know, at key moments in the race. But for me, in my mind, I like to think of it, it's just going to be a battle. It's not going to be pleasant. It's going to be tough. And if it's better than that, then it'll be a bonus. So it's kind of about expectations and trying to make sure that I don't have too high expectations and therefore get a bit grumpy and a bit sad when I maybe can't achieve them. Suzanne, did you personally prepare any different this time beside the new boat? Well, it was more difficult. Couldn't go to a gym, so I had to do a lot of work with stones and more traditional ways. I remember was it Rocky 2 where he went out there and he trained out in the ice. Kind of felt like that a little bit, but you know, as I've got a bit older, I don't feel like I need to be any stronger or any fitter. So mainly this was about maintaining what I had and really not to get injured. You know, an injury that could have put me, you know, off the boat for a while would have cost more miles. And everything we've done this year really has been about trying to keep as many of the hours that we could have on the ocean, because it's such a losing miles is very painful, and when you're already short on them, having spent 4 months in lockdown, you know, we just couldn't afford it. Do you ever heave to on an IMOCA? That's a very good question. Heaving to is a way to ride out a storm. You know, I have done that. I did that in 2016, 2015 actually, with the previous boat. I hove to on the IMOCA and unfortunately got hit by a rogue wave, which turned the boat upside down and led to us being airlifted off. So I had to, we landed in La Coruna airport. We were my co-skipper was Guillermo Altadil. He was like a Spanish legend. And he immediately organized a tugboat, and we steamed out to the boat. We found her after, I think, 11 hours. Thank God Decathlon was open late at night, because we had to go and buy wetsuits and knives and torches. It was like a real life salvage operation, which was weirdly quite fun. But yeah, we pumped the boat out, we towed her back in, and then we trucked her, I think, to Santander, put her on the ferry, took her home to Gosport, and we repaired her, and got ready for the Vendée in 2016. So it was that was an interesting experience. But yeah, heaving too, it's not easy on these boats. They go very fast, even with tiny amounts of sails. Charlie, how many pockets are there on board the boat? Yeah, there's quite a few pockets on board the boat, Charlie. You know, it's good to have a pocket. There was some debate in our team whether we should call them pockets or other things. Yeah, there's an awful lot on there. We've got a great guy in our team who does all the canvas work. He's a really nice fella, really good team member. But strangely, he looks just like Ron Weasley. And I remember once flying into Spain with Charlie, and we got to passport control, and he took his the passport. The guy took the passport and looked at it, and he went, "Ha, you Ron Weasley," which I found very amusing. Yeah, so Charlie, who just asked that question, he is the person that makes the pockets in the team. The joke is that when I started this, I said I didn't want to have any pockets on this boat because a pocket is heavy, and as the team like to joke with me, we've probably got about 30,000 pockets on the boat now. So Charlie, thank you for all your work. You did a sterling job. And sorry about the Ron Weasley comment. The model behind you, is it for sale? I don't know. If anybody like a model, then probably best to go in via Facebook and ask the office. But I don't think I've even got one at home, so probably not. In which weather conditions is the speed difference between the new and the previous boat? You know, and the speed difference between this generation and the last generation can be huge, sometimes, 30, 40% even in flat water. But as soon as you get into waves, then it kind of equalizes the boat. So it's, it can be a bit frustrating sometimes, but waves can make more of a difference. But waves also can be a problem because these boats now can go very fast, closer to the wind. So when you're sailing close to the wind, then generally the waves are coming from where the wind is. And so if you imagine the waves are coming at you at 20 knots and you're doing 20 knots, and then the result is impacts at 40 knots. And one of the things we did this summer was to reinforce the aft section of the hull. And when we did that, we put fibre optics in. So now I have a live readout of how much pressure the hull is under. And we were very glad to reinforce it when we saw the data. And I'm very glad to be able to have live readouts. And, to be honest, nowadays, less so on the last generation, but these boats, you can reach the limit of the hull, you can reach the limit of the foils, and you can reach the limit of the mast. And it's a real exercise in management to try and control everything and stay reliable. What have I got here? Spare parts. I've got loads of spare parts. You wouldn't believe how much I take. The objective is always to finish the race, and so you wouldn't believe it. I mean, if you think the most amazing story in the Vendée Globe was about Yves Parlier in the 2000 race, he broke his mast halfway across the Indian Ocean. He somehow managed to get the pieces on board. He sailed to an uninhabited island. He then repaired his mast, hoisted it without stepping foot on dry land. He didn't have enough food to finish the race at that point, so he got into a sea survival suit. He collected seaweed and shellfish, and then he went to finish the race. And that's a legendary story. The man is a legend. I do tell my team not to expect this from me, but it basically means that you can almost fix anything, and that's what we prepared to go out there and do. No matter what happens, we try and finish the race, and that's what it's all about. The objective is obviously to try and go out there and win the race, and that's the program that we put together. The design, and the build, and the way we've developed the boat is all to go out there and win the race. But the reality is anybody who finishes this race is a winner, and so that's my expectation. I want to get out there and finish this race. And after the leader comes back and there's hordes of people, but the biggest crowd at the finish is not for second place, it's not for third place, it's for the person who finishes last. And I think that's that probably sums up the Vendée Globe for me. There are some people who are in there to win. There's some people to podium, and there are some people who are pure adventurers. And it's a fascinating story, and I very much enjoy listening to the other stories. I think we're about to wrap up, so maybe I'll just do one more question. I'm going to choose a good one. God, they're coming in quick and fast. I can hardly read them all. What have we got here? Oh, stop. Too many. What have we got? Robert Gosling, what's going to be my favorite data feed? Ah, that's a good question. Well, because the boat has only got 2 foils and they're pretty close to the middle of the boat, that it's pretty hard to fly stably. As in, you fly, hopefully it's your bow that goes up, but you can't. You'd love to be able to fly level, but that's impossible because we're not allowed to have wings on the back of the boat. And so very quickly we realized that it'd be quite handy to know how high we were flying, because when we got the boat in the water and we started sailing around, we didn't realize. We'd come back and watch some of the video footage, and we'd be like, wow, look how high the bow is out the water. So the most interesting piece of data for me is probably ride height. So you'll be able to go onto the hub and on our website and have a look, and it'll say bow height, and that's how high it will go. Now the sensor only reads to 3.7 meters, okay, 3.7 meters, and most people would probably never believe that the bow of the boat could be 3.7 meters out of the water, but I think you'll often see that 3.7 meters is the number, and if it reads 3.7, it could easily be more. Anyway, I've got to go. I've got a lasagna in the dinner to eat. I'm going to try and get to sleep early the next couple of nights. Looking forward to Sunday. It's going to be incredibly exciting. I'm immensely proud of the work that our team have done. Very thankful, obviously, to our sponsors, Hugo Boss in particular, who have been with us for 17 years. Believe it or not, it's incredible to think they've been with us that long. Obviously, Nokia Bell Labs as well. And all our suppliers who have who've put a lot of work in, a lot of time, a lot of energy. You know, we appreciate you all, and I look forward to entertaining you out there. And hopefully, I'll be entertaining you from the front. But you can guarantee if I'm not at the front, I'll be trying my hardest to get out there. So please follow the race. Please check out all the data. If you've got any feedback, send it back to everybody in the office and tell us how we're doing. I love to hear from you all. You know, the messages I get from you guys of how perhaps sometimes I'm inspiring you. I find that incredibly inspiring, and so please follow, please enjoy it, and I'll be seeing you again soon. Hopefully, a first video in the first couple of days. Thanks very much.